Hmm. Well, here we are. We're talking today with Dr. Cindy Van Praag, and she has an amazing podcast called Inspired Mom MDs, an anesthesiologist and physician coach who founded Inspired Mom MDs. Her passion is helping physician moms take back control of time and energy so they can prioritize what matters most and thrive at both work and home. So, thank you for being with us today, Cindy. This is going to be an interesting conversation, I think, because so many people don't realize what, um, especially female MDs, have to deal with. So I think there's a huge schism in what people do understand about that. So I'm excited to hear about what you do. What led you from clinical medicine to coaching and podcasting?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate
Sure.
this. Um, that's a long story if I told you it blow by blow, clinical medicine to podcasting. But I'll start with the clinical medicine part. And
Mm.
actually, and that starts with the first part. I consider my life in three phases. And the first phase was my bright-eyed, ambitious, excited, full of energy self that went into medicine and loved every minute of it. And that's, I just ate up everything that involved diseases of the body and how to fix it and what's happening on the cellular level and and that was great, right? That's the first phase of my life. The second phase is the clinical medicine phase, which is what you're asking about. And that's when I came to the realization that things are not as shiny as you expect them to be.
Yeah.
I went into this field of medicine and anesthesiology specifically because I loved learning and I loved helping people. And I put my patients first and I loved applying all of this really deep
Yeah.
knowledge about how the human body works to helping people in the moment. And it was satisfying at the beginning, but then what I didn't realize was the healthcare system is broken. And you don't realize it when you're experiencing it at all the broken pieces of medicine, such as, the overwork and you want to put patients first, but your employer wants to put dollars first, or the hours you
Right.
spend, or how the system feeds into your personality traits like perfectionism and
Yeah.
just being self-critical. So that middle phase of my life was kind of being it was a realization that I was
Mhm.
giving so much of myself
Mhm.
to clinical medicine, which I initially loved and was very excited about it. And then I eventually moved into burnout, complete burnout.
Well, they kind of
Because
prepare you for that when you're in school too. I mean, you see the residents doing these incredibly long shifts and complaining about their hours and they're not being treated like human beings in the first
right,
place. And so you're trained now to not feel like a human being.
right, you're trained to avoid your basic needs. You're
Right.
trained, yeah, avoid and ignore. But it sounds silly and laughable, right?
Mhm.
But in the
Yeah.
moment, it doesn't. It's like, no, I'm strong. I don't need
People
to
need
sleep.
me. I
I
have to
don't,
do this.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they make you do it. You put
Mhm.
pagers. I was back with pagers. I don't know if they still have pagers. I was in the old school when we worked over 80 hours a week and we had pagers and we'd work 36 hours straight. And that was almost a badge of honor, was being
Mm. Oh, yeah.
exhausted, not running, not being able to go to the bathroom and not having enough food. It's
How are
like
your
I'm
relationships then too?
exactly. Yeah,
You
what?
have a
Yeah.
normal relationship.
So many, yes, I've spoken to so many women whose relationships failed, and that was the first sign that something's wrong. And I'm so grateful that I still have my husband who I met in medical school. So I'm
Mhm.
very grateful that that relationship survived that training. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so to continue from the burnout, that's when I had a transition or a pivot in my life when I actually talked to a coach. I was just helping her out. I didn't even think I needed a coach. And she taught me some amazing tools that seem like common sense, but they're
Mhm.
not when you
No,
when you
not
actually
that
try to
common, turns out.
no, when you try to apply it to your own life. And
Yeah.
she helped me apply those, and I made dramatic changes. And I have moved into my third phase of my life, which is one that is more centered on me, not trying to serve the system, and self-care. And it's more one of balance and
Hmm.
peace and mindset changes that I'm keeping each day with practice. And it's just
Yeah.
so much more peaceful. And looking back on that middle phase of my life, I know a lot of women are in that too.
Yeah.
And that's what led me into coaching and podcasting is just like, hey, I just want to like yell from the rooftops. This is what happened to me. Maybe you can hear something from my story that resonates.
Well, it reminds me of this farmer that I've seen a movie of down in Georgia when somebody asked him why he was doing holistic farming. How are you going to
Mhm.
feed the world? He said, I don't think I need to feed the world. I need to feed my community. And
Yes.
that's really what we're talking about too, is like, can you bring it down to just like not having to be responsible for the entire world?
Right.
I think that's what happens to a lot of people as they're going through that training. They think, well, I have to do this because otherwise people will die. And actually, um, they're not dying because they're not dying from that. They're dying from the fact that the system is broken.
Mhm.
And
Right.
people are going to die, but we want them to have a quality of life until they have to check out.
Mhm.
So you work a lot with physician moms, and
Mhm.
what is it that they secretly are craving that no one's talking about?
Yeah. So physician, and I work with physician moms because I get it because I am
Mhm.
one.
Sure.
And a lot of the things that I talk about apply to so many other people. It doesn't have to just be physician moms, but they are in a double bind and they are moms, which has its whole set of responsibilities and stresses. And they're physicians, which brings in that other, which is the double bind part, which brings in all of the struggles that they have with the system
Yeah.
and they're trying to do it all. And I think the thing that they're secretly craving is permission, not from the world or a spouse or anyone else, permission from themselves to accept that they don't have to do it all. They
Hmm.
don't have to fill that entire mom role and that entire physician role and make it this perfect balance in their life and make everybody happy or make themselves happy by their list of accomplishments or that they're checking all the boxes.
Yeah,
Whatever they
we call
define
that
as happy.
hyperachieving. Yeah, you're with the
Whatever.
hyperachievers there because they
Yeah.
need to go to medical school. They want to take care of
Mm-hmm.
people, but they also want to have a family. And,
Mm-hmm.
we used to say, you can have it all, just not all at once.
Yes,
Maybe that's
that's true.
maybe that's better to not have
That's
it
a
all
good
at
way to
once.
put it. Mm-hmm.
Um, and that, gosh, when you're trying to do all those things and be perfect at it,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what's encouraged. It's
Mm-hmm.
encouraged for you to be perfect. And we see all of this entertainment and content out there that's telling us it's okay not to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Now we see that people are
Right.
starting to get the idea that you don't have to be perfect, but that's an awful lot
Mm-hmm.
of pressure. I know when I went into practice, and this is me as a solopreneur, I don't
Mm-hmm.
have a hospital that I go to. I'm
Mm-hmm.
working out of my office. Having that, have to get those people in, have to, that's really, it just kills your joy. So I
Yes.
imagine what you're seeing is a lot of people who are just dragging and don't have joy in their life.
Yeah, they're exhausted by trying to do it all. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
talking about what matters most and prioritizing, what does that look like in real life when everything feels so urgent and it has to happen right now?
Yeah. So to on those urgent days that are just crazy and hectic, it helps to have a foundation of clarity and values. So that's something you build on the non-urgent days. So that's
Mhm.
getting back with connecting with yourself. What, excuse me, what is it that you value? What does matter in life? What do you love? What excites you? What do you feel in your gut? And it takes time And meditation or silence or, workout or whatever your method of getting in tune with yourself and having that foundation so that on those urgent days, it's already established and you have a reason for making your decisions. So, for example, so my family is one of my high priorities.
Mhm.
So I will base my daily decisions on, am I saying no to something that I can't ever replace again, like my kids' graduation, for example?
Sure.
Or am I saying yes to work and no to them? So you come to all these forks in the road every day. And when you choose or make your decision based on your foundation and your values, then you're going in the right direction. So practicing that each day really helps on the days that are just really crazy and urgent
Hmm.
because you have this knee-jerk reaction to follow your values. And that's prioritizing what matters most when you don't have time to think about it because stuff happens fast.
Yeah, it does. Life comes
Yeah.
at you at light speed.
It
That's
yes.
yeah. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, what is the first thing that you do or when you're feeling stuck?
Yeah. So that still happens even though I'm in that third
Sure.
phase
I
of my
mean,
life.
healers need
It
healing,
doesn't
right?
go
So
away. Oh,
we
it
have to
doesn't go away.
practice what we preach. So it's
Yes, it
not that you're never going
happens.
to it's not that you're ever going to not feel grief again. You're going to feel grief, but here's what you do when you
Yes.
do that. So what do you do when
What
you're
do I do?
feeling overwhelmed?
Um, in the very moment, I take a deep breath. And when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I personally can feel it. It's a certain feeling. I get this pressure right here in my chest, which is over my heart. And it's not medical, it's the feeling. And it's
Mm,
my signal from my body to tell me to stop and take a deep breath. And then I have other steps that if I know I implement each day will help me through a period of feeling stuck. And that for me is getting enough sleep,
mhm.
which just has the most
Yeah.
immediate effect is having a full night's sleep and meditation or quiet time, which works for my system. And
Mhm.
that's what helps pull me out of getting stuck.
If you're overwhelmed though, how do you give yourself permission to stop and do that? I mean, there's got to be like a change that you make in your mind going, I'm in overwhelm. For you, you said it's a feeling in your chest.
Hmm.
Is that so? As soon as you feel that, you know you have to stop what you're doing and do something different. Is that right?
Yes, and that's
I want to
by
reiterate that because people can gloss right over this and say, oh, well, that's great for her. She could stop and meditate, but I have to keep going. So the feeling is really important, like what you're feeling.
exactly. Exactly. And everybody will have a different feeling.
Mhm.
Everybody is unique and it takes you have to listen to your body and
Mhm.
your situation. And I didn't always recognize that feeling in my chest. I pushed through it all. I didn't know.
Mhm.
And there are, little practices you can do to get in touch with how do I know when things are getting overwhelming before it gets too far?
Yeah.
And yeah, and I don't mean to say I stop and meditate in that moment either. I could be driving down the highway. I can't do that. So for
Mhm.
me, the quickest thing is breathing, is taking that deep
Mhm.
breath. And I know from the medical background that you're in this state of agitation and tension, and that's why I feel this feeling in my chest, and it's my sympathetic nervous system. And when I take that deep breath and I hold it and I just gently blow out longer than it took me to take it in, I'm overriding that sympathetic nervous
Mhm.
system and I'm activating my parasympathetic system. And that's the one that
That's
gets
the
me, that
one.
grounds me and gets it. That's a that's a quick fix that people can
Yeah, it
use.
is. I
And there are
teach it all
other
the
quick
time
fixes
too.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
breathing is so easy because you don't need anything but yourself and you can be
Right. And the fact
driving.
is that it's the one thing that keeps you alive. You can live without
Yeah,
food for a while, you can live without water for a while, but you got to breathe.
yeah,
And so every time
yeah.
you do that consciously and take it out of the subconscious, I'm just going to let myself breathe and not think about it. As soon as
Hmm.
you think about it and put attention on it, then it can expand
Yeah.
because what we
And
put
other
attention
people,
on expands. Yeah.
exactly. And other people may have other techniques. Some people want to
Mhm.
splash cold water on their face. That works. Other people use just a quick mindfulness technique, such
Mhm.
as, okay, I'm going to just observe what's around me. What are 5
Right.
things that I see that are pleasing in color? What are 5 sounds that I hear right now? Oh, wait, is that a bird over there? You know,
Mhm.
just really taking your mind
Right.
into that kind of state. So there are things like that, that whatever floats your boat, whatever whatever resonates with you, but you can handle it.
Exactly. So you're giving your clients and the people that you work with all of these different ways that they can stop and let themselves be for a moment,
Yeah,
right?
if they ask, yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm very in tune with clients and listen to them and what they want, and they can kind of, I help them figure out what works for them. I don't
Mhm.
tell them what's going to work.
Yeah.
They know, but and I may throw out options and they may say, "Oh my gosh, that sounds really good." I'm like, "Okay, well, let's explore that." And I help them find what's right for them, and it's all based on their own intuition.
So tell me more about energy because there's some things that you've talked about. And since I'm an energy healer, I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I'm interested in what you have to say to what I'm going to say. So, yeah, my big focus is on time and energy. And I've decided in my little world that time is like liquid gold. And I think a lot of people will agree that you can't replace time, you can't
Right.
magnify time, you can't reduce time, you can't speed it up, you can't. So, and it is so precious that I call it liquid gold. It's not anything you can remove or add to. And energy is equally as precious, but thankfully, I think of it as a renewable resource. So when you're exhausted, for example, when you're exhausted, completely run down, out of energy, there are ways to help you renew that energy. It's not lost. You can
Mhm.
renew it and you can amplify it. And those would be in my coaching world would be things like um, through connection with other people and relationships, boosting that, boosting your
Mhm.
nutrition and the healthy food that you put in your body, boosting whatever action you can take is not necessarily hardcore exercise, but movement,
Mhm.
sleep, just all of these things. Any of those things that you add to your life
Right.
can help renew and boost that energy. And so
Mhm.
the balance is I only have so much time and my energy, I feel exhausted. So, how do I take advantage of the
Yeah.
time I have to boost my energy?
Yeah. So when we talk about energy, we talk about the field of energy. In
Hmm.
energy healing, we're talking about not just your physical self.
Hmm.
That's just the way your field shows up. So energy is like a cloud.
Hmm.
Um, think of of an atom. It has an electron or two or three running around it, but we can't actually say where the electron is. It's the cloud of probability of where the electrons are.
Yeah.
And that's the same for us. We
Hmm.
are the most dense part of that field, our physical self. So when we're working on energy, we're influencing the body all the time because the
Hmm.
field of energy is what's creating us, not the other way around. So we're
Yeah.
not emanating, we emanate heat basically, but we're not,
Hmm.
it's the cloud that's around us that's creating us. That
Hmm.
communication goes back and forth.
Hmm.
So what we do in energy healing is try to maximize the odds of using and supporting that energy in a way that keeps you healthy and alive, obviously, but
Hmm.
also raises your consciousness so that you start to understand it's not I'll believe it when I see it, but I'll believe it I'll see it because I'm believing it. So
Hmm.
it changes the orientation that we have. And when
Yeah.
that starts to shift, then things really change a lot and it's miraculous. And I'm sure that you see that too with people who start using these techniques and these tools to help themselves manage their life because
Right.
they're still here on earth. They're not a
Hmm.
cloud in the sky. That's not what we're talking about, but they're
Hmm.
using these tools to help themselves prioritize their life because for some people priorities are going to be different than others.
Hmm.
So that's awesome. I love that
Yeah.
liquid gold. So you're talking about ATP, right? When we get right down
Energy
to
and
it,
ATP.
we're talking about
The
mitochondria,
molecular
ATP.
level. Yeah. But
That's
I
it.
like what you said about energy. Yeah. And I can see it on the you can see it in people. And
Yeah.
I'm not trained in energy medicine or but I definitely have a sense for it. And I've
Hmm.
worked not directly with, but I've met some people who are energy healers and just really I resonate with I just there you can just tell.
There's your
Just
fourth
resonate with them
phase
as
coming, Cindy.
I
Your fourth
just
phase of life.
yeah, my fourth phase of life is exploring energy a little bit more, not in the physical hardcore sense of ATP,
Right.
which is what I'm trained in. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm speaking to. But yes, I appreciate your explanation too.
Yeah, I tend to talk about medicine and medical things are Newtonian physics,
There you
and
go.
living things are quantum physics. So let's
There
work
you
in the
go. That's
quantum
yeah.
field.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because the observer changes what's observed. So
Mm-hmm.
that's quantum. So
Okay.
what's a small shift that you've made that's made a huge difference in your life? So it's something small. We talk about this in quantum healing too. Something really
Mm-hmm.
small shifts everything. So what's a shift that's maybe happened to you?
It's really small. So I have the umbrella of self-care and all these little shifts that
Mm-hmm.
fall under that umbrella of self-care. And the one that has made the biggest impact has been sleep. And I I recognize for some people that's not small. They struggle. They oh my gosh, they yes. So I'm not saying it's easy, but this is something that's helped me because thankfully I haven't had that struggle yet if I ever get it. But when I go to bed earlier, then I actually do get more sleep and I'm so grateful for that. And that is one small change that has completely shifted my life. I am a different person when I get a full night's sleep. And that
Absolutely.
new me is more rational, less emotional. It's I can think clearly. I can apply all of these things to that day if I've
It's so
slept.
amazing because when we're in fight or flight, we can't rest well because that's
Mm,
parasympathetic and that's rest,
mm-hmm,
digest, and heal. So
mm-hmm,
when people are out of balance with that, and you're teaching them
mm-hmm,
breathing techniques and other tools
mm-hmm.
that they can use to help alleviate that fight or flight response,
Yeah,
it's really true. I do the same thing with my people. Just
yeah.
we've got to balance that first. At least let's do that. And that's an awesome way to start because it's really
Excuse me.
less, it's really, it's, well, there's just tons of pollen out here. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
here too.
If someone feels burned out but isn't really sure what to do next, what's the best thing for them to do? Where should they start?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I do want to break it down a bit. There's a continuum of stress. So there's not one answer won't help everybody. So
Right.
so for this continuum of stress, I learned from the Lorna Breen Foundation, um, which is a foundation named after an ER physician from New York City who died by suicide in April of 2020
Oh my
when the
gosh.
climax of COVID hit. And she was in the,
Yeah.
if you can imagine, in the middle of New York City. It looked like a war zone, right?
Yeah.
And this is a previously, gung-ho, vibrant woman who ended up dying by suicide. So the foundation was formed after her, and they promote mental health in the healthcare system. So they
Hmm.
came up with this stress continuum, and I don't know if they came up with it, but I learned it from them. And
Hmm.
it's real easy. It's four levels. There's green, yellow, orange, and red. So green is you're ready, things are great. That's when you can help other people. Yellow is your typical day with stress. Like I get in the car and my tire's flat, and now that makes me kind of irritable, and now I have to manage it. But it's gonna be managed, and I'm gonna be okay the next day. Orange is continued stress that is affecting your mood. That is, you're starting to get to the point where you're injured. And red, if you can imagine, is you're ill. I mean, that's
Hmm.
red. So red would be something's going on for over 30 days. It's affecting your mood every day. It's affecting your health. It's affecting your relationships. It's your life. So the first
Hmm.
step, if you're feeling burned out, is where might you be on that continuum? Is this just a daily minor stressor, or are you, which is yellow, or are you getting to orange, or are you red? If you're red, I
Hmm.
just want to emphasize at that point, people most often benefit from professional help. If it's getting
Mhm.
that severe, and professional doesn't mean a coach necessarily. It could be a counselor, it could be your physician, it could be
Mhm.
somebody who's trained in mental health to help you. If you're in the orange phase where it's like, oh my gosh, something's got to change, that's that's a little bit more on the coaching end and something people can manage. And that's where this really great technique called stop comes in for that person who's in the orange range, where you stop and pause, take a breath. There's that breath again.
Mhm.
O is observe, how am I feeling right now?
Mhm.
And P is you're proceeding with awareness and taking some action. So, what do you need to do at that moment? Do you need to take care of your safety? Do you need to step away from a situation? Do
Right.
you need to use your stress reduction techniques to calm yourself down? Do you need to reach out to someone, just talk to them, connect with somebody, that social
Mhm.
strength? And so that's where you take action. So to answer that, a person who's feeling burnout, probably if they're considering it burnout, probably means they're in that orange
Yeah.
to red range. Orange is where you can use, you can talk to people and you can use
Yeah.
techniques that you've hopefully built up in those green to yellow parts of
So
your
it's good
life.
to like start doing this stuff when you're green and to
Yes.
get the practice of like I teach 4 count breathing. So doing 4 count breathing,
Mm-hmm.
I tell people do it when you're at a stop sign, do it when you're sitting at
Mm-hmm.
a red light, do it when you're
Yeah.
waiting for something. Just do that so that you get used to doing it. So when you really
Yep.
need it, it's right there for you.
Yep.
The truck's outside, sorry.
That's okay.
You can hear it. But um it's something you said that made me kind of sit up and take notice when people should stop and see how they feel. A lot of people don't do that. They don't want
Mm-hmm.
to know how they feel
Mm-hmm.
because they feel like they're doing it wrong or they shouldn't have those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And the most important thing you can do is see how you feel. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you're not feeling like yourself, if you're feeling scared, if you're feeling frustrated or upset, it's important to identify your feeling
Right.
because that's going to lead you to what you need to do about it.
Right.
So that is what you said was probably that's the most important thing that I would think of is like identify your feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's important.
And that
Your
means
feelings
that
are
means
real.
yep, take a pause, and yes, your feelings are real and you're not going to do it wrong by sitting with yourself to figure out what you're feeling.
That's right.
You
That's
can't,
right.
who's to say you're doing it wrong?
Right.
If you figure out what you're feeling, then you won, Yeah.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
way I talk about feelings is their guidance. So,
Mhm.
like you have a gas gauge and it goes
Mhm.
to E and then you go fill up with gas. You don't beat yourself up about it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
just go get more gas.
Yeah. As a
Now,
matter of fact.
this is what we're talking about is you're saying if you're feeling like you're in fight or flight, if you're feeling like things aren't going your way and you have to struggle, then that's an indicator that you need assistance.
Mhm.
So where can they find you, Cindy?
I Inspired Mom MDs is the name of my website and my podcast. So just inspiredmommds.com. And I'm on LinkedIn a lot too. If anyone's on LinkedIn, they can look up my regular name, Cindy Van Prague, and find me that way.
See, I've been saying Von Prague, so I like
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Part of my family says Van Prague, the other part says Van Prague. Both are right.
Well, I think it's great because people need inspiration. They absolutely do. And they
Mhm.
need to know that there's people out there waiting to assist them
Mhm.
because we're not meant to go through this life alone,
No.
trying to figure it all out on our own, reinventing the wheel. Get
Mhm.
help, have
Yeah.
assistance. There's nothing wrong with having someone come alongside and help and give
Right.
you guidance.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you're there for Mom MDs and other moms too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I
Appreciate
bet
you.
share the wisdom.
Yeah,
We're all better
absolutely.
off for it.
I had
Mhm.
a friend the other day said her 11-year-old granddaughter came up with a new word. It's called wisdomful. And that's what we want people to feel. They're wisdomful. They have this wisdom
Mm,
within them. And so
mm-hmm.
they're wisdomful. And you have it
Everybody
too.
does.
Everybody has it. Yeah.
Everybody has it. And if you can share it, oh gosh, how much better can everyone be? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so
Right?
much, Cindy. I really
Oh,
appreciate spending this time with you. And we'll put the links to your website into the podcast in the YouTube video and wherever else you want to post it. It's good.
okay.
Thank you
Thank you
again.
so. Thank you for having me.
You bet.